Greetings, friends. I wanted to do a video here for you for a lot of different reasons. I want to start off with the idea that some of you have asked me questions, a lot of different questions on various different videos that I've done in the past, some of my writings. For some reason, I can't respond to some of you. I can respond to some, but not others. I want to stress that it's not me ignoring you. And sometimes I've actually gone out of my way to drop messages in your YouTube inbox. But I want you to keep in mind that if I don't answer you, it could be because you have a setting that doesn't allow me to. But I love having these conversations. I love the idea of exchanging ideas and being able to expand our understanding of a lot of different things. So don't think that it's me avoiding you, because I'm not. I try to respond to as many different questions and comments as possible. And sometimes it's taken me a while, sometimes a couple of months, and I do apologize. And I haven't done much with the channel lately. I do apologize for that, but a couple of my other projects seem to be a bit more pressing. For instance, An American Warning, and it's due in great part to American economics and political woes. I'm focusing a lot on that and trying to help bring some understanding into what's going on here. I do plan on doing more with this channel in the future. So I want to thank all of the subscribers and friends and family for sticking with me and still being a part of the channel. And I'll discuss a little bit more about that here in a little bit. But I've prepared a few things that I'd like to discuss first. And I'm going to walk through that here real quick for clarity. And I want to say this because in regard to deism, deists believe in God. Very much so. We just do so based on logic and reason, or I should say out of logic and reason. It's not a personal God, though, and I think a lot of clarity can be provided on that topic if you read the Trinian Contradictions. And I guess that's pretty much what that is. And I know there are a lot of atheists and theists and even Christians and a lot of different religions, actually, who have watched some of my videos and who have tried to explore the many different ideas. A lot of people who are based in science have been, conversing to the different elements of what deism is or could be. And once again, deism is different. I've said this before. You can get 100 different deists in a room. You're going to see 100 different variations of what deism is. One of the questions I was recently asked is was in regard to the progression, I guess, as far as deism. Deism is different, and it's not necessarily that one deist is wrong. It's just that perhaps they haven't reached a certain level in their studies yet. You got to remember that deism in great part is a continual study of a lot of different things, a lot of different information, pieces of information, I should say, and it's going to be different for different people. But the general premise tends to be the same. But with that being said, and this is kind of what spurred this video, is that lately we've seen a dramatic rise in the number of people who consider themselves to be deists. And I think that's great, because I think in a lot of ways that's history repeating itself. A lot of people who are subscribing to deism are starting to see that reason and logic are important, especially in light of world events. I think that well, as I said before, history is repeating itself, and I think this is a good thing. And it's a good thing for a lot of different reasons. But at the same time, I'm noticing that quite a few of those people are not exactly dedicating themselves to study or even attempting to try and understand what it is they're subscribing to. For instance, I continually come across those that take more of a no such thing as God position, who are calling themselves deists, and this wouldn't be deism. This would more than likely be something along the lines of atheism. And I think we need to be a bit more vocal about what it is we believe as deists. And this is especially true when it comes to our own forums or our groups or pages or fellowships or what have you. I think this is vital. I don't think we should allow those with a vague or and I hate to say it, elementary understanding of our beliefs to come in and attempt to confuse others in such a way that it might alter their perceptions or the perceptions of those who are trying to explore further in regard to truth. Basically, it boils down to this. I mean, you have to understand that if you are a deist or you're considering becoming a deist, you're going to seek fellowship. You're gonna have a lot of questions and so on and so forth. So when these questions are being answered by those who are not really deists, the idea of deism can become contorted, and I think that can be a dangerous thing. So I think we kind of need to police ourselves, or at least be a lot more vocal in regard to what our true belief system is. And for clarification and to reiterate the idea, we do believe in God, based on, once again, logic and reason. And a lot of that is scientific principle and things like design and systems and so on and so forth. And of course, I'm trying to keep this simple for a reason. So bear with me. And once again, understand that there are various forms of deism. So I'm trying to make sure that message spans those various forms. But I should also reiterate the idea that deism is about study. It's about observation. It's about research. And that's really the premise. I think the underlying premise of deism, is this dedication to study and research and observation. And logic and reason are tools used to better understand the world around us, and of course God. We use these tools to research, study, and learn about the world around us, so that we can better understand what we're observing. Being a deist isn't about not going to church. That's not the point. A real deist, I would say, commits themselves to study. And basically study and research and observation. These are I would say it's the whole point of enlightenment. And looking back to what it has been for hundreds and hundreds of years, you'll recall what's been said over that span of time is that deism is basically the religion reserved for the intellectuals. Well, if that's true, then it's our job to study and advance the idea of knowledge and information and personal liberty and rights and so on and so forth. Now, I've heard it said that revealed religion is born out of fear. And I would imagine that most of us agree with that. Well, deism seeks to eliminate that fear. But we have to remember that fear is born out of ignorance. So deists attempt to eliminate that ignorance by study and research and observation. We want to know. So if fear is born out of the unknown, we want to make things known to eliminate that fear. It's kind of like I was just having a conversation right before I started this video with an individual talking about the information that has been revealed by deism, and I go back to ideas such as electricity. During the time of the American Revolution, right prior, a widely held belief was that thunder and lightning was the wrath of God, but it took study, research, observation to find the truth about what thunder and lightning was. So that's kind of what that was. And people feared thunder and lightning, but of course now people don't, because they understand what it is. And this is what historically speaking anyway, makes us stronger, makes us smarter and more grounded in our beliefs. And in a lot of ways, a lot more unified as well. But this also means that we need to be prepared for understanding of certain things and ideas to change and or alter at least a little bit as new information is received. For instance, I personally became a deist after having studied many different religions of the world. It wasn't based out of hatred or laziness. And when I talk about hatred, I mean hatred of a church or of a certain belief system or whatever. it was because I wanted to truly understand. I wanted a better understanding. I loved to learn. I loved history. I loved a lot of different things about the learning process. And that's what I think about when I think about deism, understanding, or the attempt to better understand everything, really. And I bring this up because I believe a big part of this study should include history. We should study the foundations of deism, as well as the things that were influenced by deism. And this includes many things, going all the way back to ancient Greece. Of course, this should also include the study of colonial America, with a focus on individuals such as Thomas Jefferson and Thomas Paine, Ethan Allen, even Ben Franklin to a certain extent. People who were either heavily influenced by deism or what I call militant deists, which, I joke around about, but Thomas Paine and Ethan Allen are what I would call militant deists. And we should be studying, who they were as well as what they wrote. And this would include their books, such as Age of Reason or Reason, the Oracle of Man, but should also include the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and so on. It should also include some of the things that were said by these people, not just quotes thrown around on memes, which are usually inaccurate anyway, but I'm talking about their speeches and their correspondence with others. And there are a myriad of reasons why so many deists respect the American founding fathers. I would imagine that it has something to do with the fact that they were the first to be able to apply deistic principles on a bigger scale, much larger scale than had ever been really achieved before. Not perfectly, mind you, and I understand that, but definitely bigger. And not to mention what their influence did in regard to inspiring an entire people to want to achieve personal freedoms and liberty and education and so on and so forth. So, and I know that there's going to be some who will try to rip that statement apart, especially in regard to slavery or whatever, which, I would imagine that the only reason they would do that is because the context of that debate or the history in general is unknown to those folks. The truth is out there, and I've written extensively on these subjects on my website, which I encourage everyone to explore, especially in regard to slavery, because the deist founders, by the way, just so we're all on the same page, might have been slave owners at one point, but they weren't exactly fond of the institution. And actually, quite a few of them aimed to destroy it. And I would say that they did. And by the way, the website, AmericanWarning.com, has been set up in such a way now that you can search a basic term like slavery, and it will provide you with a plethora of information on the subject that you may not have been aware of. So once again, feel free to check that out. But on a related note, if you're truly a deist, I would encourage that you research for yourself who was or was not a deist. For instance, if I tell you that Ethan Allen was a deist and you were unaware of that fact, I would encourage you to look it up and learn the story for yourself. And the reason I say this is because it's come to my attention, and this has been repeated. And the latest one is just the I don't know, the icing on the cake, basically. But this has been going on for quite a while. But it's come to my attention that there are some who, some people out there who are deliberately, it seems like anyway, deliberately attempting to skew the deist perspective by suggesting that some who were merely inspired, maybe even vaguely, by the deist revolution or by a specific deist, were deists when the truth is that they weren't deists at all. And this could be for any number of reasons. But I've said it numerous times, and I'll say it again. Deism is a threat to certain people and groups, especially in regard to different types of authority, because, once again, one of the deist principles is to question everything. So it surprises me just barely a little that that there would be some who would try to come and alter or attempt to alter some deist perspectives, and or I should say the premise. But we got to be smarter than that. We've got to. I would say stop it before it occurs. And for example, on a deist page that I frequent, a relatively new deist, and this is just a recent example, but a relatively new deist, at least on that page, was trying to suggest that a guy by the name of Lysander Spooner was a deist. And he was attempting to get people to subscribe to Spooner's writings on the premise that he was a deist. And of course, I took issue with that for a lot of different reasons, primarily because Spooner was one of the guys who was somewhat remotely inspired by deists, but actually he was a Unitarian, at least by historical record from what I've been able to recover. But above and beyond that, I would say that, Spooner was an advocate of the labor movement. Well, I don't know. In other words, it was socialist ideas which tend to conflict greatly with the spirit of deism, which of course is rooted in personal responsibility and individual liberty. Above and beyond that, Spooner was a man known for bad-mouthing the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, which I should just throw out there. These are documents created in great part and influenced by deism. He was also a known member of the First International, also known as the International Working Man's Association, which was a known socialist and communist organization comprised of the very same. Again, groups and ideas that tend to conflict greatly with deistic or deist principles or deistic ideas. Now, evidence of this socialist conflict comes from the Bill of Rights, which rely heavily on personal responsibility. Other examples would be with guys like Thomas Jefferson, who stated clearly that men should not be taxed on their labor, and of course the Bill of Rights, is what the people are entitled to. This is what Thomas Jefferson said: is that the Bill of Rights is what people are entitled to against every government on earth, general or particular, and what no just government should refuse or rest on inference. Or better yet, Sam Adams, who said that the utopian schemes of leveling and community of goods, which is basically socialism, are as visionary and impracticable as those which vest all property in the crown are arbitrary, despotic, and in our government unconstitutional. But then the question, of course, is, how exactly does this conflict? Well, socialism, or even social democracy, is predicated on community of property, or basically redistribution. All right, and these require a strong labor movement to sustain their heavy redistribution, and such redistribution cannot be accomplished with weak labor movements. So it's a big centralized redistribution scheme, and that is a problem. Basically, anyone who is pushing labor movements, forced redistribution of property or wealth, heavy taxation, especially on labor, or associated ideas simply cannot be deist. At least from my perspective, because deists tend to believe in social justice. But social justice is the view that everyone deserves equal economic, political, and social rights and opportunities, not equal things, not equal income, and definitely not at the expense of someone's labor or individual rights. Okay, so I guess the point of all of this is that I wanted to give you a heads up about some of what I've been seeing. And I wanted you to arm yourself with the information necessary to counter and block such intentions, because I feel that in great part, some of these intentions are probably deliberate. And I think that if they are deliberate, that's something we should definitely guard against. Now, I recently got into a conversation about the American founders and their role in the American Revolution. And a fellow deist was suggesting that our deist founders were not as influential as I often make them out to be. And of course, I disagree with that, which is fine. I mean, it's a difference of opinion, and that's fine. But I wanted to share an excerpt from Encyclopedia Britannica, and I find this compelling for a lot of different reasons, and I think you're going to see why. But I think it helps solidify my position. It says, although Orthodox Christians participated at every stage of the new republic, deism influenced the majority of the founders. The movement opposed barriers to moral improvement and to social justice. It stood for rational inquiry, for skepticism about dogma and mystery, and for religious toleration. Many of its adherents advocated universal education, freedom of the press, separation of church and state, And it goes on to say, if the nation owes much to the Judeo-Christian tradition, it is also indebted to deism, a movement of reason and equality. And I find that to be compelling, powerful, and almost shocking that these ideas are not taught in school. But, good news, I recently had a discussion with a viewer of the channel who had mentioned to me that she had stumbled upon deism because her history teacher was talking about it. So it is still out there, which is good, in education. I don't know if it was a private or public school, but I think that's amazing. I think that's great. So kudos to teachers who are still brave enough to teach the term deism. And anybody who I guess wants to share or whatever, I think that's great. Anyway, so that's that. Just clarification on a couple of things to kind of keep an eye out for, and I guess purpose to be a lot more vocal in your belief, and regardless of the variation of deism that you might find yourself in, or whatever progression in deism, or I should say wherever in your progression you might be. So with that being said, I also want to announce that I'm going to be doing, or I guess I'm going to be hosting some live hangouts here on this channel from time to time. Probably not as frequent as I would like, because once again, as I was talking about earlier, some of the projects that I have going on do take precedent at the moment. But I'm going to make a bigger effort to be involved, and this will give us, I think, all an opportunity to communicate, gain some fellowship, and get some different insight into the many different areas of deism. I'm going to have different people involved. I'm hoping to get some of the folks from Positive Deism and Reason Media involved, as well as others who have been active in the deist movement, over the years. So that'll be a good thing. I want to also, I should say, welcome anybody who's watching this for the first time. I want to welcome you to the channel, and I also want to show you some resources here real quick. If you're looking for more deist resources, you want to find some fellowship, or you're looking for more information, I would encourage you to check out Reason Media or Positive Deism. You can find both of those online, or of course on Facebook. Be sure to check them out, and check us out again. We will be back again doing a hangout, and hopefully we'll throw out some invites. We'll get some other people involved, and I guess that pretty much does it for me. Once again, just wanted to drop a line. I know it's been a while. So that does it for me, friends. Until next time, take care.